This could be the best late model BMW interior upgrade, and I'm going to show you how to install it and give a review. Let's go. Let's open this up and see what we're working with. A lot of wires. And more wires. Oh boy. The head unit that costs under $200. I'll leave a link in the description where to purchase this. Directions. And more wires. Man, that's a lot of wires. The most important part, let's check out the head unit. Looks pretty nice, and a little volume control. Some active menu buttons on the sides. The back, some connectors. Based on the connectors, doesn't look too complicated. This is a 2004 325i BMW, and this radio is coming out. Time to use the trim tool and start dismantling. Loosen this up and pop straight out. Here's a look at the orange tabs. At this point, the center trim comes out pretty easily. There's a couple Phillips screws holding the radio in, one on each side. That's it, just two screws, and the old head unit slides right out. This connector is the antenna. And now the big wire harness. This just doesn't pull out. There's a locking mechanism. The trick to get this off is to pop this up and the connector will unlock and pull out. Here's the connector and how it works. Lock and up is unlock. Now the bottom unit is the AC and heater. This unit pops right out. It's in here pretty tight. With this, we're going to disconnect all four connector wires and we're going to relocate it to the bottom storage area. All the connectors make a different connection. This one has a pinch point and this one has a simple unlocking lever. Now, pull up on the connectors. Don't pull on the wires. This small white one, you pinch the sides and it pops out. And this last one was tight and hard to grip on the harness, but a needle nose pliers did the job. It's free. At this point, the storage unit below just pops out. Simply move the AC wires to the old storage opening. For the larger unit to fit in, we need to take out the four screws. So this brace for the old radio and AC comes out. This is tucked in a bit under the AC vent. So you have to work this out from underneath to break it free. And there it is. The good news is I didn't break anything yet. Now take the AC and make the connections. You can't mess this up because the connectors go in one way. Don't forget the locking lever for this one. and the other two just slide right in once they're positioned right. They should slide in easy. When the wires are cleared away from the rear AC control panel, it slides in perfect fit. Just a quick little test to make sure everything is connected. Looks good. Now for the head unit. The unit has Bluetooth, which this car didn't come with, so I had to find the best way to run the microphone and the GPS wire so it's unseen, and the microphone is closest to the driver's voice. Also, there are two USB cables that are going to be placed out of the way in the glove compartment for charging and connecting the phone. We're taking the glove compartment off. There are some screws on the bottom. Two on the top. Right there. And two screws tucked away on the sides where the glove compartment bands are. The entire compartment is disconnected. There are two wires for the lights. Pinch this one and pull.
Okay, that's one.
The wires are tucked away in a channel. Good to remember when you're putting this back together. Now we can take the glove compartment out and get it out of the way. Here are the wires all fished through the radio opening. Eventually they'll get connected to the main radio unit. Here we go, fishing it through. The kit came with a large connector to connect the car's large lockable connector. Push the top down to lock it in. The other end are a bunch of connectors. The good thing is, no splicing of wires yet. Looks complicated, but it's really not bad. You can follow the directions, which the connectors will only fit into their intended spots. This is the antenna for the radio. This one is for the GPS. It's a small coax. And plug the antenna into the existing antenna.
The USB.
These two connect to the radio for the two USBs that are going to be in the glove compartment, and just really match up the cable diagram. Again, connectors only go in one way. Some optional RCA connectors. This also has a rear camera, and this is the cable for this. This is the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. This has to be connected even if you don't use the rear view camera. This is the CAN bus. Just follow the diagram. Just to run a quick test, we turn the car on. And look at that, it works and it looks nice. From the cable mess, we connect our microphone when we get a call.
You do the Bluetooth.
There are extra connectors for third-party amplifiers and other accessories to interface to. For the rear view camera, it's a little tricky. You have to splice a wire in the middle and connect this blue wire. The wire is connected to the RCA plug and just there floating free. So let's expose this wire more and get it ready to be connected. No other YouTube video is showing you this part of the install. I got you. This cable harness has this brown wire right here. We need to splice this to the blue. You don't want to cut it, you just need to expose the wire. And now I'm going to connect the blue wire to the exposed brown wire. It would have been nice if they made a connector to do this. I believe this gives camera power. While you're doing all of this, you'll want to make sure your car is off. Here's a good look at it. I'm going to secure and protect this connected with some electrical tape. Then this connector goes into the radio. Now it's time to mount the radio. Tuck the wires in, and the top of the radio needs to go behind the air vents. The trick here is the wood trim. It doesn't fit with the radio screw down, and the screws are in back of the trim. So you have to put the trim in at an angle, then tighten the screws behind the trim. So loosen the screws as much as possible without them coming out, and slip the trim in behind the radio at an angle. Then lift the trim up like this and tighten the screws. Once screwed down, that long trim guide wouldn't align with its hole, so we shortened it. Yeah, nobody on YouTube tells you about this part either. It worked, and now putting on the passenger side trim. There you have it. A nice fit, but tight, and looks great. Now it's time to run the microphone somewhere. I decided to run it to the middle overhead. I figure this would be the best position for both the driver and passenger to speak on the phone through the Bluetooth. Also, the GPS, I'll just place it under the dashboard. To run the microphone wire in stealth mode, I took off one of the A-pillars. There's a strip that snaps right off and exposes the screws. Be aware, these are torque screws. They're not the Phillips or flathead. There are 3 screws, and the part comes off easily. This is where the microphone's going. This piece snaps off, and let's see what we're working with. There's plenty of room, but I have to take out the headliner light, which just snaps out. There's a screw right here to keep the liner tight. Also, the sun visor needs to come out because they're also keeping the headliner tight. I just want to slip the wire underneath. These also come out easily. Right side with 2 screws, a wire for the visor mirror light. This one has 2 small covers that are covering 2 screws. That's all I need to loosen to get the wire underneath. I'm going to start from the top because any loose wires I can tuck away in the glove compartment. I'll just stick the microphone out like this so there's no obstructions. It's hardly noticeable. If you don't like it, you can place it behind the roof panel. I put the wires down the A-pillar and tucked it nicely there and ran it down to the side dash. There is a small gap the wire fits through, so I put the A-pillar back on, installed the glove box, and hid the wires behind it except for the 2 USBs that you'll want to have access to. Now for the rear view camera. I'm going to start with the back and get the camera connected. Time to take the trim off. These tabs you can use a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver. They come out relatively easy, but you want to get in between these 2 tabs and the top will slide up and release. There's tabs all around the panel. Now this toolkit is the only thing holding this on. This clip slides off. I'm not going to take the whole thing off, but at this point I have enough access to run the wires. So now we have to figure out the best way to run the wires from the camera. Take the license plate off to get a better look where to run the wires. I see an opening behind these plate lights. Time to take off the black strip and the lights. There are basically 4 screws. For this, we need the torque bit. Now that that's off, there's a nice entry point right here to feed the wires through. Put the license plate bracket back on, and this camera mount seems way too bulky and get in the way of the opening of the trunk. That's another thing to consider, to not get in the way of the trunk rack. This big bracket just didn't fit right. The license plate was pinching the wire. A little modification, and instead of the large bracket, the kit came with this smaller one. Now it fits, and a little bit more stealth. Running the wire inside the cabin, you can mostly tuck it away without taking anything off. Taking these floor panels off is a pain, not to mention you could break something. Move the seat around to get the best access. Now I'm already headed towards the back seat. Keep tucking until you get to the back seat. Now the only way to go further is to take out the back seat. The bottom part snaps right off, and the back rest is more difficult. The corner snaps off, but the entire seat was too tight. I fed the wires through, and now this trim needs to come off. First, the battery cover tray is coming out. Now these panels, the tabs screw off. I'm not going to take the whole thing apart. I just need access to the back and this rubber cable grommet. I can run the wire from right here from the existing wire and follow it to the grommet. I use this wire tool and will tape the wire up. Here you go, and ready to pull it through. Now, click the back seat back on. I use the same wire fishing tool to get the wire through this grommet, which was a big mistake. The wire could fit, but not the connectors. As I pulled the wire, it broke in two. Ugh. The wire was very hard to splice together because it had 3 very fine wires. If I was going to do this again, I would have to fish the wire outside of the bracket and tape it or zip tie it to the grommet. Don't make my mistake and try to put it through the grommet. Yeah, nobody tells you that. They just skip it and show you a clean install. Then you can fish the wires through the trunk, which isn't bad. I noticed no one shows a true walkthrough of the rear view camera install. Now I know why. Bottom line, only real bad part was the rubber grommet. If you want to skip the rear view camera install, it's a much easier installation. Now check this out. Overall, this is well worth it and completely modernizes this later model BMW with Bluetooth, GPS, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, 5G Wi-Fi, it easily interfaces with your phone. It runs just like your phone with mirroring, so you can watch Netflix or use any other application your phone uses. This isn't a paid advertisement. I'm just sharing the install to make it easier for you and showing this is a great update. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. I hope this video helped, and if it did, give me a thumbs up, let me know in the comments, and subscribe.